3. Hello, everyone. On the way over here, I was kidding. Who's running to college? Everyone is in this room, so if there's any need. I was going to say, Ivan knows how to make everybody shut up really well. When he says, you're going to be filmed, all of a sudden I saw everybody saying, well, I'm not going to say anything. I am not going to be filmed. Today we have been focusing on some new things that we want to do. This is one of the efforts in terms of the Enrollment Management Committee. But I also asked Ivan, could I use this as a time to recruit some people for a new video we want to do? Let me see the hands of you who'd like to be in a video. Okay, let me try again. It's going to be a fun video. Let's see your hands again. Okay. Let me try again. Are any of you familiar with the song Happy? Okay, now how many of you like to be in a video in which we dance or do things to the song Happy? Okay, we're getting a few more. How about if I gave you half a day off? I started, but I might have got a bit crowd. Anyway, there are some things that we want to do as we go forward that show that we are a happy place to work. And I think as you sit in this room and see all the people that showed up for this event, it shows that we are committed not only to being a happy place to work, but a happy place for our students to come to. And so I hope that as you go through and discuss some of the things that we are doing, that we're looking at it not in terms of that was terrible, we're looking at what are some of the things that we're doing well, and what are some of the things that we can even do better now, and build upon those. So I'm really very appreciative of the Enrollment Management Committee. Actually, this committee is, I think, about a year old? It was about a year ago I pulled together a group of people. Is that correct? It was about a year ago?
About 8 months.
Before I even got here, that we started the committee, so it was a semester. So we've almost time for a birthday. I know we love celebrations. How many love celebrations? Maybe we need a Enrollment Committee birthday celebration. Anyway, so it's been a short period of time, but you are to be commended on the work that has been done, whether you're on the committee or just a general person who has been assisting with our registration. We were very fortunate this past year that we did not lose our momentum in terms of our enrollment. Even though some of our sister colleges decreased in their enrollment, we did not hear. There have often been times that either Daniel or Ivan got calls from our sister colleges in our system wanting to know, what are you guys doing? We want to know what you're doing. And even though we are always willing to help out, there are times that we keep our mouths shut. And we don't tell all of our secrets here, because I think that our secret is sometimes that we really think outside of the box and that we celebrate and embrace it. So today, as you discuss what we're going to do going forward, our goal next year is also to maintain our enrollment. But you also know there are many viable things that might be a challenge to this. If you are any of you from the Fairbanks campus? Can you raise your hand? If you are at the Fairbanks campus, they will tell you that they have had ongoing challenges with 290 being torn up in front of the site. And now they've lost over 80 spots because we're building the parking garage that will be placed there to put back in some of the spots that were lost due to 290 expansion. That is hindering the summer enrollment, and it will possibly impact the fall enrollment just because people are seeing it and thinking it's just not a friendly place to come. But there's a lot of marketing, and I hope as part of the discussion today that we discuss some of the strategies we might use for that. Okay, the other challenge we have, of course, is that there are other options for our students. The other option for our students now is UP. Almost half of the enrollment that is at UP comes from the service area around us. And so, because the other half is coming from Klein, so North Harris also was impacted by UP campus. And that's not unusual. When this campus was built, Tom Ball felt the challenged because some of the enrollment from the Tomball site ended up coming here. So that happens. Students have choices. To be candid, I tell our team that our goal is when we go out to market is not to market a particular institution, but is to market the community college option, which happens to be Lone Star, whichever location you decide that you want to choose. Our goal is, however, that we happen to be the best at doing it, and so we hope that when people come and visit us, they see that. So I'm going to turn it over, because I don't really hope that I am on much of the video, that you're going to slice out this. This is like the rolling credits of my part of the conversation, and we'll get down to the meat. Again, thank you all for coming here, and hope that you will not let the camera make you shy, because it is only going to be used internally for our use. This is not going to be put on YouTube unless you want it to be. This is going to stay right here. Again, thank you all for showing up today.
Thank you, Dr. Levy. So we will go ahead and get started. Okay, there we go. So we have our agenda for today. We'll do a quick enrollment update, talk about some admissions, orientation, enrollment. You see the other things that we'll be talking about today. And before I forget, if you are on the Enrollment Management Committee, would you please stand and wave? As Dr. Levy said, this committee has done tremendous work in regards to ensuring that we have programs, initiatives inside and outside of the classroom to promote effective registration. And as Dr. Levy said, it has been a tremendous success of the work that the committee has done. This was one of the new things that we're trying this time, and we thought of bringing together everyone prior to the start of the big registration period, so for summer and fall and then for spring, to provide information to give to each one of you so that you know about the different kinds of things that we'll be encountering, any kind of changes, whether they're internal to the institution, internal to the system, etc., so that you're equipped and you can also share the information with students. So let's just move along. Enrollment update. Just to recap on fall of 2013, we had a goal of a 1% increase. If you look at the information from the official day report, across the system, it was a 0% increase. For us, we had 19,544 students, which was a 3% increase in headcount from the previous fall. We had almost 3 million contact hours, which is a 2% increase from the fall of 2012. So if you see, we did an excellent job in regards to exceeding what our goal was and even exceeding what the rest of the system was doing in the aggregate. You see information there. Our Cypress Center, as you know, which was very new, brand new in the fall, opened with almost 1,400 students. If you have the opportunity to look at some of the enrollment reports, you'll see that the Cypress Center opened with more students than some of our centers in the system, which have been open for many, many years. You'll see the Fairbanks Center, as Dr. Levy spoke about, has experienced a decline in the student enrollment, and we'll have some more direct conversation about that a little bit later. Spring 2014, this is information from official day. You'll see our goal was 1%. The system experienced a 3% increase in students and a 1% increase in contact hours. For us, we had 19,376 students, which was a 4% increase over the previous fall, and almost 2,800,000 contact hours, which was a 1% increase over the previous spring semester. And you'll see contact hours there because our budget is built on contact hours. So when we say we want to reach a 1% increase, we're really talking about a 1% increase in contact hours. So let's say we next year we'll have a 1% increase. We get a head count of a 10% increase, but we have no increase in regards to contact hours. Then we would be in a situation like some of the other colleges where we may have to send back money to the system. So It's very important that we continue to look at not only the number of students, but the number of contact hours that we are achieving as an institution as well. You'll see for this spring semester, the Cypress Center enrollment increased to a little bit over 1,700. In Fairbanks, again, you'll see a decrease there in regards to its enrollment. For the summer, these are enrollment numbers as of today. The goal is again of 1% as of today in regards to the system. It's experiencing a 1% growth in headcount in students and down 1% in content. As for us, we are down 2% in students. So as of today, we still need to enroll at least 6,621 students. And we are down 9% in contact hours. And you see the amount of contact hours that we need to enroll for the summer semester. Now, this is actually not as bad as it may look for the summer, because we know that we will pick up in a lot of the summer registration as we go along and it gets closer to the start of the summer. Cypress Center, you see the numbers there, and you see numbers there for Fairbanks Center as well. As you know, we'll be registering for the fall. Now, these numbers are different because we haven't started fall registration. Our budgeted goal for the fall is 1%. So that means we're looking to enroll at least 19,739 students. And again, you see almost 3 million in contact hours. We have copies that are coming in. If you don't have the handouts, just raise your hand and we'll have some people come around and bring them to you. Good, they'll just continue to just pass them around. So again, our 1% goal. Cypress Center, that means getting to 1,395 students, which will not be a problem at all, seeing as though the spring they're above 1,700. And Fairbanks of 3,000 students, and you see the contact hours there as well. Now, although our budget goal is 1%, which would be the almost 3 million contact hours, but 19,739 students, our stretch goal is what, 20,000 students for the fall. So even though our budgeted growth is 1%, I will be pushing the student services team, the enrollment management committee, and the entire college to reach that magic number that we're all hoping to reach for the fall of 20,000. Any questions in regards to the quick enrollment update? If you aren't aware, on the ORI external site and the internal site, there are all kinds of reports that give you a lot of detail behind our enrollment, whether it's first day reports or official day reports. So I encourage you to go out and look at some of that information, and feel free to contact me if you have any specific questions about the enrollment data that you have quickly seen already. So no questions? Going on to a little bit about student characteristics, because sometimes we don't, when we're there working day to day, we don't realize the composition of the students that we're working with. This is data as of fall 2013, 57% female. You see the breakdown right there of race and ethnicity, with the majority of our students with the 40% being Hispanic. You look at it, says American Indian is 0%. Actually, in the fall semester, I think there were 51 students, but of course, when you look at percentages there, it's extremely small. Only 32% of our students are full-time. So that means 68% of them are part-time, and we know what kind of challenges come with part-time students, not just in getting them to register for more courses, but in regards to retaining them as well. And I forgot to mention, as we're talking about enrollment management, and we're talking about our goals in regards to registering students, it is very, very important that we talk about two big things, not just of recruiting new students into the college, but I think more importantly of retaining the current students that we have at the college. Of course, we want them to come back to continue to make progress with their academic goals, which lead to their career goals, transfer as well. So when we're talking about marketing initiatives and registration campaigns, it is just not to influence students, new students to come to the college, but it's more importantly, again, to retain the ones that we have. That's why we will see that we've done some things in the spring, working with faculty, to have faculty members work with their students to have them register, working with advisors to have degree plans in place. And it is something that we'll be asking again for this registration period and every registration period as we go through. The mean credit load is about 8 credits. And so that's something for us to think about as well. As we see the increase in the number of students, and sometimes the credit hours doesn't match that increase, because many times we're seeing more and more students who are coming to us not only part-time, but we're also sometimes seeing a dip in the amount of credit hours that students are taking as well. You see our age distribution here, with approximately 70% of our students being under the age of 25. You see 11% of the students of the 25 to 29-year-old age, which is the group that I'm in. So you can pick your own category, but for me, and I'm sticking to a 25 to 29, so there are about 11% of those who are just like me. But if you see, we have a large number of students who are in that, again, less than the 25-year-old range. 73% of our students come from Sci-Fair ISD. And that speaks to the large and the very significant partnership that we have for Sci-Fair ISD. The other largest one is Katy ISD, where we have 8% of our students who are enrolling from Katy. That is a partnership that we're having a lot of discussions in various ways, with particularly with the Cypress Center being in Katy, of us improving and developing strong working relationships with Katy. And another thing that you may not have realized is that in the fall, approximately 60% of our registration occurred prior to 2 weeks before the start of class. That meant 40% of the registration in the fall occurred during the 2 weeks before and up through a couple days after the start of class. So if you think about that, almost 3 million contact hours and almost 20 million students, 40% of that occurs during the first 2 weeks. That's why it's almost like a madhouse throughout the entire campus during that time. That is even more reason for us to continue as a college community to promote our current students to register early. Why? Because we want them to have first dibs at getting the courses at the times and the delivery formats in which they need so that they continue on their academic progress. So any additional questions about either enrollment, about student characteristics? Okay, well, I will turn it over to Daniel Villanueva, our Director of Enrollment Management, to give us some additional information on admissions, orientation, and enrollment.
Okay, I get no applause. We'd first like to start off with the admissions presentation. In your packet is a sheet that is selected from the registration guide. We didn't have many to hand out, so we just printed this one sheet. If anyone is ever on campus and they need to know how to get enrolled at Lone Star College, the system office has put together a quick and easy 8-step guide. This is in the registration guides that are everywhere. They're all over campus. We just ordered 15,000. Michelle Tran, they'll be in soon, right?
Yes.
So once we get them, they'll be distributed all across campus. But in there on page 5 of that guide is this 8-step checklist that we refer every student to. So if you have a student who comes to you in the library or in any area that doesn't deal directly with enrollment on a day-to-day basis, you can look at the registration guide on page 5 and guide a student through the enrollment process. I'd also like to talk about our Lola application. When I started this job, everybody kept talking about Lola this and Lola that, and I really thought I have to go meet Lola. And I never found Lola, but I ended up understanding that Lola stood for Lone Star Online Application. So that is our preferred method for students to apply to Lone Star. We also accept the Texas Common Application. Once you apply via Lola, there is new selection process for degree paths. So once you apply, you now have to select one of these degree paths. Here is the image that's available to you or to the student. They select one of those in their applications. Also wanted to update you guys regarding bacterial meningitis. There have been some guidelines that have changed. 2 distinct guidelines that we'd like to reference. The first one
is the exemption age is now 22. Also that the objection form, so if you object from this vaccine, it does not require notarization. There is a special form that you have to fill out, but it does not require notarization, which is a difference from our last semester. How many of you have logged into your iStar portal and seen a brand new portal? Okay, the students are now seeing a brand new portal as well. We logged into this. It is a system-driven initiative to redesign the portal, and so this is the new portal that we have. This is the new student checklist. So when students log in, after they have submitted their application, they have two tabs to see, a new student tab and a current student tab. If they look at the new student tab, this is what they get. This is the new student checklist, so it tells them exactly what is remaining, where they are in the process, what we have received and what we have not received. You may come across students who have all items checked off, and that is not correct. You may have students who have done items, and they are not checked off. So there are still errors with this checklist. We refer to it, but students cannot be 100% dependent on the accuracy of this checklist. It is there, and the system does acknowledge that there is issues and they're working on it, but in the time being, know that there is a checklist there for the students to see. This drawer is closed and I can't enter anything. Got it. It's magnetic. Okay, I'd like to introduce our new program coordinator for new student orientation. Her name is Miss Allison Ketterer, and this is her. If you have an opportunity to visit with her, she is a lovely lady. We took her from Tulane University out of New Orleans. She was the Assistant Director of Recreational Sports there and has joined us here in Houston now. So we're excited that you're here. Some of the new changes that we're going to design for orientation we'll highlight, but first we want to give you kind of the overview of what orientation is supposed to be designed for. It's supposed to be designed to introduce first-time in college students to orient them to Lone Star College. One of the changes that did come down from the system just a couple of days is dealing with dual credit students and orientation. Dr. Zakir? Okay, I have an email out to her. If you are a dual credit student and you are taking classes on a Sci-Fair ISD class, you do not have to attend new student orientation. If you're a dual credit student who's attending a dual credit class on Lone Star College Sci-Fair campus, you now have to take new student orientation. That is a change. We also design orientation to provide a campus services tour, offer question and answer sessions with our SOAR leaders, assist with selecting your classes and being advised for the first semester, highlight ways to get involved in the campus community, and create a foundation for success for our incoming students. So these are the three different types of orientations that we're going to be offering. In non-peak periods, we're going to be offering an orientation called New Student Orientation. Those are the dates. A maximum of 45 students. They're going to be divided into 3 groups. They're going to rotate between a campus service tour, adjust the basics of the tour so they're not getting a full tour, an advising one-on-one session, and class registration. That is different from what we currently do now. We're incorporating a lot of technology with the new student orientations. There's going to be an iPad pods, clickers, and that will be launched hopefully on April 9th. The next version will be a fast track orientation, which is basically what you know of orientation today. During our peak times, we will have a maximum of 100 students. Various different days we'll have 2 sessions, and we'll rotate between the system presentation, the advising, and registration component, which is what orientation is today. We also have our final and third initiative, which is our cohort orientation, which deals with specific groups. So if you are in nursing, or if you're in the honors department, or if you're in STEM, any department, we're offering that service to you to develop orientation specifically with you. So if you're interested, Allison is her name, and she is in CASA 100. And now I'd like to turn it over to Kuwana, who will talk about the new TSL.
the TSI is not new anymore, Daniel, but the branch. Hello, everybody. So I actually have very good news about TSI. I know over the past year, we've been talking a lot about TSI, and there's a lot of changes, and that is to come. Every year, we'll get some updates from the state. But what's happening right now, effective April 7th, which is right in time for fall, the start of fall registration, the College Board and the Coordinating Board have these new branching profiles that we in the testing center will be using. So what are branching profiles, right? These are test packages, different combinations of the subject areas that the students are testing in. So if a student right now takes all parts of the test, they start in math, and then they take reading, and then they take writing. Those of you who work with students every day, you may realize that sometimes they ask to start in a different section. Maybe they want to start in writing. So effective April 7th, they will have the opportunity to do that. So that's really exciting. Another thing which is very, very big is those students who want to retest in writing only, multiple choice, or essay only will be able to do so. Yay for the advisors. I know you guys have been asking for that for a long time, but do know it's only for retest. So please do not send students for their original test with an essay only option on the form. So that's really pretty much what the update is. And like I said, it's happening right in time for fall registration. So I'm excited about that. Any questions about this new update? Very good, thank you.
Okay, Michelle? I'm going to introduce the next presenters. They're fabulous individuals who have worked very, very tirelessly on these projects. Michelle Tran and Daniel Malloy. After our presentation. Okay. Do you want to start this?
So I'm just going to cover a few of the system initiatives in terms of what we're doing for marketing. They have almost doubled the number of billboard placements that they have to push spring and fall semester. And I know it's probably kind of hard to see on that map. If you would like, I could email it to you. But all of those locations they chose based on peak traffic times. So I can send that to you if you'd like to see that. We're also doing something new this year with Pandora, which is the streaming internet radio. We're running ads on that, as well as they've doubled the number of Facebook ads that they are placing. And again, these are system-wide ads. These aren't Cypher specific. And they've also invested in quite a bit of radio advertisement this year, and they now have 2 new television ads that are running on KHOU and Univision. Now these are just traffic sponsorships, but it is the first time that we've actually done television advertisements, so we're pretty excited about that. And we have also added some sports venues, Rockets games and Dynamo games. So if you go to any of those games, you'll probably see some of our advertisements there as well.
Okay, so our campus events as they relate to enrollment initiatives. The first one that we'd like to speak to is our remote registration review. Admissions and records work collaboratively with advising and counseling to set out tables in remote locations all throughout the campus to pre-advise students and check polls and see if they're available to register for summer and or fall. So that has been ongoing and will continue. The next item that we'd like to highlight is our College Preview Day, which is this Friday. We will have about 350 seniors from Cypher ISD on campus. for our preview day. We do have our blue preview day shirts that we'll hand out. At the end of this, we have some trivia questions relative to our portion of the program. And so if you listen to us, you could win the college preview day t-shirts. That is not the correct date on the open house. I apologize. It's my fault, but it is Saturday, April 5th. Is our open house. If you are interested in participating in open house, you can get in touch with Blanca Cruz. The next slide will give you specific information. Cy-Fair ISD Council and Principal Appreciation Events. Dr. Zook and I are working collaboratively on that project. We will have all of the counselors and principals on campus Wednesday, April 9th, which is a very important day as it is the first day for registration for fall semester. So typically last semester we held a registration rally on the first day of registration for spring. So we are now hosting a registration rally, as you can see the image there, on April 9th, which again is the first day for fall registration here in the CASA building. We met this morning, members of the Student Success Leadership Team, to design that. You will see a plan in place probably next week that will be forwarded to the campus, but we expect again the same coverage that we had from last year. Cypress Center Block Party, it will be May 17th. We're working with College Relations and Dina with our Satellite Center to invite the community out to our Cypress Center. And of course our ongoing new student orientations that will occur April until after the first day of classes. Here are the campus initiatives that we are doing in terms of advertising. Michelle spoke of the system ones, and so she'll now speak of our campus operations.
As we always do, we will be running advertisements for registration in local newspapers and local sections of online newspapers. High school newspapers, Cy-Fair ISD added a few more buses to our rotation. We have increased our outdoor signage. We are doing postcards, not just for instruction, but also for fall registration. And we're sending letters to graduating seniors and students who are eligible to participate in our credit program. We are also going to be doing a number of social media campaigns targeted to students on campus, which I'll be sending out in probably the next couple of weeks because I need to get faculty and staff involved in that as well.
Okay, and communications that are going out to students are robocalls regarding registration, balances, and drop notices. So if they've been dropped from classes for non-payment, if they have a balance and need to pay, or if they're eligible to register, we are calling those students and encouraging them to get their items taken care of. There's also mass communication emails that are being sent from Michelle's office, and then emails being sent from enrollment management depending upon the specific situation. So again, if they have a balance and they're going to be dropped for non-payment, we would communicate via phone and email. And Michelle mentioned our social media campaigns. We are currently in registration for the summer. So as we have noted that fall registration starts April 9th, we are currently open for registration for summer today. Some of the campus initiatives that are ongoing are in-class registration. The members of the admissions and record staff are working collaboratively with various divisions in the academic area to do registrations in class. These are some of the areas that have participated last semester and some areas that will participate this semester: service learning, engineering, health sciences, and fine arts. Also, our College Connection advisors are working collaboratively with Cy-Fair ISD to meet with high school seniors and prospective students on a daily basis to complete applications for enrollment. Meningitis clinics, Friday-only classes, as instructions are offering that. Humvee registrations are ongoing, and our FAFSA submission outreach. Okay, so the big questions are, what could you, as members who are participating in this meeting, do to help enrollment? Here are some of the things. You can encourage prospective students or current students to attend the following events: our college preview day, our open house, participate in the registration rally and the Cypress Center block party, have resource tables at open house. So again, this is the correct date, April 5th. If you are interested in hosting a resource table, that agenda item for the schedule for open house is in your folder. So if you're interested in what times those tables are available, you can refer to the agenda in the folder. If you're interested, you can walk over and talk to Blanca Cruz after this event as she's taking RSVPs for table. You can also host a table reservation at the Cypress Center block party. So you can wear your registration buttons and t-shirts. We're going to be passing out buttons today. That state registration starts April 9th. That is something that is easy for all of us to do. I go in shopping with this outfit on, and I get compliments on how good I look, but I also get compliments on the button. I get asked a lot of questions about, do you work at Lone Star? No, I just like the name tag. But I explain to them when registration starts, how I can help them, and so, those are simple things that you could do today. We'll pass out the buttons during the next presentation. We're going to encourage that faculty, again, distribute the registration postcards. Those will be delivered to the DOMs and deans next week. So remember the stack that y'all got for during the fall semester for spring registration. You'll get another stack next week for fall registration. Also, we ask that faculty encourage students to register for fall and spring classes. We're going to be distributing that video link again, where faculty are encouraged to show the registration video in class. Last year, I think we had 3,000 views on that, which we found amazing, that students actually viewed the YouTube video regarding registration. Participate in our summer tele-recruiting campaign and our summer VIP days that are to come. Any questions that we can help regarding enrollment or marketing activities before we have a question and answer session regarding these t-shirts here that we have to give away? Michelle won her own contest. Okay, yes ma'am. What is the theme for our registration rally is the Call of Duty theme.
We're giving away an Xbox prize package with the Call of Duty.
Okay. Okay, so how many high schools are in Cypher ISD? Can anyone answer that question? Besides the college connection driver. Sony? 11. Okay, will you give Sony a large t-shirt or 2X? Can anyone tell us when registration for fall begins? Okay. Raise your hand. If you can raise your hand, be called on. Who can name our mascot? Anybody? We have a small, I think. Do we? A medium. A duck? Well, that's what it is, but you know its name. Well, we'll give you a shirt for participating. Will you give Carol a shirt?
I know his name.
Anybody know his name? Miss Jones.
Heavy D.
Heavy D. And they're not talking about me. Will you give Miss Jones a t-shirt?
Thank you.
Yes. Miss Jones. Any other questions?
Thank you, Blanca.
Okay, if you don't have any other questions, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Harrell for a little bit more updates before we move on to the post-class classes.
All right, give them a round of applause. They brought, so we'll do a couple more times and things, but before I turn it over to Krista for the closed class process, if you didn't sign in to the sign-in sheet, we'll pass them around to have you sign in. Also, again, if you need some handouts, just raise your hand. We have people who will be coming, who will continue to come around and do them. The other thing that we neglected to mention, which is an oversight on my part, was another big marketing initiative, literally big. Literally big. What am I talking about? The big duck in the pond. If you haven't seen it, that's only because you've been on this side of LRNC and you got to get into the middle of campus. But we will be using the duck. We don't have a name, an official name for him. Some of the students have said we should call him Biggie Small. We haven't decided on a name, but he will be appearing when we're trying to promote major things such as registration. So you never know when he will be appearing, no telling what he may have on him. So we'll have a little bit of fun with the duck. The students have seemed to really enjoy it. I know that College Relations is doing and will continue to do some social media contests in regards to engaging our students in all kinds of ways. So we forgot to talk about the really, really big duck in the middle of the pond. So on that note, I'll turn it over to Krista Malloy.
Well, it's really hard to follow Team Awesome and not to follow with Team Awesomeness. That's the enrollment management team that does that 40% of the registration right before classes start. They do an awesome job. And I get the privilege of leading them in that task. We have a new process that we piloted in the spring that we want to roll out for the fall. I want to talk to you about it a little bit. The purpose of it was to have a process in which students could petition to get into a closed class. It was an outcome from an enrollment management committee debriefing. We have sometimes, unfortunately, of course we are human, students do get dropped from classes in error, and then those classes get filled up very quickly, and the students who should have perhaps have been in those classes and should not have been dropped did not have an opportunity or a standard method in which to request access back into those classes. And the DOMs and deans will tell you they had students scrambling in their offices, what do I do, how do I do this, etc. So we decided as an enrollment management committee to try and set up a process for that. The responsible department will verify the error, and I'll go through that process here in just a minute. In your packet, I do have a job aid for you to review, and you can see it as I go through here. The responsible department will communicate the issues and findings. The responsible department, being admissions and records, will communicate our findings to the student, the academic dean, as well as the staff, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So the pilot that we had for the spring, we were dealing with a few students, not as many as I'm sure that are out there. It ended up being about 25 students' issues that we dealt with. As you can see, there were errors found in different areas to include admissions and records, business office, financial aid and veterans, and in the deans approved. I do want to say that for the veterans piece, the one that the dean did disapprove was because the class was already full and there were no seats available. An option was provided for the student to get into another class, which was accepted, but I'm just reporting the information here to you. The deans were very gracious in all instances where we had an issue where veterans were dropped on the first drop inappropriately. So they did get assisted, and this individual did get assisted as well. The feedback after this pilot was that it was helpful to, in the deans and DOM's offices, to cut down the traffic. Our staff felt it was helpful because it gave the students a method in which to request access to a closed class. As you can see, though, in some instances the students claimed it was an error on the part of financial aid or the business office, and no error was found. But at least they felt like they had an opportunity and a method in which they could request the opportunity to get into a closed class. So from that, with that, what we did was we set up a SharePoint site, and I will show that to you here in just a second. I just want to walk you through the process the way that it occurs. The Admissions and Records receives the request via the SharePoint form, and a verification from the requested staff of the institutional error is made. Unfortunately, as you saw, a number of students say that, oh, financial aid did something to my record, business office did something. A lot of times that's not the case, but if they come to your office and they say that, you're welcome to fill out this form and we'll investigate it and let them know yes or no. If we do find an error, we send a request email to the academic dean. At Lone Star College Cy-Fair, the academic dean is the only person that our office takes as the authority to enroll a student into a closed class. Please, we do get sometimes students who come in and they say, the instructor said I could get into a closed class. Sometimes they'll have an email from the instructor that says that, but we work with the academic deans and DOMs to notify them when that occurs. Again, the academic dean is the only one who can do that. If no error has occurred, we email the requester, which is going to be a staff member, not a student. The staff member will request for the student, and the student will notify them and the student that no error was found. And in all instances, when we do that, we would recommend then that they go look for other classes that are still open. In many instances, they're shopping for that favorite professor of theirs, unfortunately. When we do have to send an error request to the academic deans, they respond back, and if they approve, we proceed with the registration and notify the requester, and that being the staff member and the student via email. If disapproved, we do that as well. Note that the emails where the request is not processed, we also always give them an option. The reasons for institutional error and admissions and records, I'll give you an example. Unfortunately, my staff is human, as am I, and we can, in most instances, it can happen with these fast-track classes where they're linked, and we've been working very diligently not to make that happen. I hope that Kim Lane will attest that we're doing our part to make that work. But that can happen, and we have to get a student out if they shouldn't have been in and drop them for some reason, or they got registered into the wrong section. Financial aid, of course, is a common one. I don't know all the details. There's lots of things behind it. The veteran services, again, in this last instance for spring, there's a new coordinator system-wide for veteran services. As I understand, he did not put the appropriate holds in place. And business office could be that the payment plan didn't get pushed through, some confusion associated with that. Again, there's a myriad of issues that can happen. They all verify that before admissions and records forwards it to the academic team, though. So they do have to accept responsibility. So I'm going to take you to the SharePoint site right now so that you can just see it. And again, I don't expect you to learn SharePoint today from this. But I'd be willing to come to your office, or you're welcome to come to ours if you'd like to get a little tutorial on this. On the SharePoint site, you can get to it from the Lone Star System webpage. Come to campus sites, click Site Fair. Under departments, you can click Student Success. And of course, after the first time, I would really recommend that you save this. Go to Enrollment Management. And under admissions and records, you're going to look here under the list, and we have something called closed class request. The key thing here, I left the data out from last year, or from the spring. It will be wiped out, but I wanted to show you how to process here. The key thing here that you need to see is this add a new item. You may be able to see this information, but if you don't have add a new item, you'll need to give myself or John Carlo Guzman an email so that we can get you added to this SharePoint site to be able to do that. What you'll do is you'll click on add an item, and then you'll get this menu here, and you'll put the information in that is requested. I'll have a drop down for the term. Again, the student ID number, student name. We would like their My Lone Star email address. One of the things I do plan to do with this SharePoint site is have a workflow where it can send automated messages depending upon what we select for the final outcome. As you can see, we'll put the class number in, the staff member name, and then the issue status. The staff member will select what is the issue status the student is telling them is the reason for the request. Again, I'm not asking you to validate that it's a financial aid issue. I know that they come to the DOM's offices all the time and say it's a financial aid issue. What I'm asking you to do is complete the form. It will come to us, and then we will validate the financial aid issue for you and for the student. So you would select that and then save it. Of course, I didn't save all of the highlighted buttons that are there that need to be saved. I do want to share a little tip with you is that if you do alert me, when you come back in, you can say alert me. Every time that we do a transaction to this record, you will get an email saying whatever's occurred. So you'll get that on top of the emails that we send to you and using the SharePoint site. Now, as we get down and use the term, again, a couple of quick things that you can see, just similar to how you use filtering in Excel. You can filter on an issue status, whether there was a closed, no error found, or whether there was a closed with the registration process. Just very easy to do that. Again, I'll be glad to give you that, we'll be glad to set up an appointment for you to see that. If you would like to take advantage, just please give me an email. I'm going back to the presentation. Through here. We talked about adding the new item, saving the request, and utilize the job aid. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to contact me about that.
Good afternoon. I'm Ashley Resendez, the Director of Financial Aid. And I know this is a fall debrief, but I wanted to give you a few updates just regarding summer. As I know that many students are, as they're registering, they're asking about what's going to occur with their summer aid. Let me get through this here. There are funds available for summer. They're not all federal funds. So there will be students who have not exhausted. As we heard earlier, not all students are full-time. And so some of the benefits to that is that they're able to extend their grant funds through the summer. And so as they're able to do that, we will be awarding those students probably towards the middle of April, late April, once they've already established their summer schedule and award them grant funds. Those students who were full-time or who have already exhausted their Pell Grant funds during the fall and spring semesters will be eligible for some additional federal grants like SCOG and state grants. Those funds are limited, and so we've reserved some specifically for the summer sessions. And so again, those students who have already exhausted Pell Grant could potentially be eligible for one of these other grants. And those are going to be awarded to students based on a first-come, first-served basis. And they need to be enrolled in a minimum of 6 hours. We are also looking at students who were attending fall and spring because we do not award summer aid to transient students. Those students who may be attending Texas A&M or UH right now, only coming here for a couple of classes in the summer and then going back to their primary institution. If they are needing assistance, they will need to work out a payment either there's not a payment plan during the summer, but they'll need to pay out of pocket or see if their primary institution has any funding available there. And then also students must be meeting SAP, which is Satisfactory Academic Progress, and I'm going to cover a little bit of that here in a few minutes. Book advances for this summer. There will not be any book advances for the mini-mester. There's just not enough time for when refunds occur and by the time that we can get the book advance out to the student. Book advances, however, for the regular summer session, which starts in June, and a second summer session in July, that is still under discussion, so we don't know at this point if there's going to be a book advance available. We have, as directors, have expressed a desire to have a book advance for those sessions, but we're still working out due to timing of when the disbursements and refunds are going out to students. What will happen this summer is that the first disbursement period is based on the first session census date, and that is during mini-mester. So if mini-mester starts, forgive me, May 15th, 16th, May 12th, the official day of record or census date should be maybe 2 or 3 days after that. So the first disbursement, if a student is enrolled in mini-mester, will receive their aid within 3 to 5 days after that. It'll disperse to their account, they'll see a credit, and then refunds will process through student financials after that. And if they're enrolled in a mini-mester and summer 1 and 2, they'll receive all of their funds at that time. Therefore, would make it unnecessary for us to do a book advance because they would have already gotten their money in advance for books. Ideally, that's how that is supposed to occur. For those students not enrolled during the mini-mester, we've already met that disbursement date during that payment period. So as soon as they start that first class day, funds will disperse to their account. They'll see a credit, and then 3 to 5 days later, the student financials will release the refund, however long that takes for the student. And so again, there's a much quicker time frame in which the student will receive their refunds as there has been in the past. Therefore, that is why book advances are under review for the summer session. We should know in the next couple of weeks what the outcome of that is, and I'll be sure to get that information out. Students will also receive communication from our system office regarding the decision of book advances during the summer. Any questions on summer at this point? Okay, fall, very similar. We've started the fall 2014 award process for students, meaning that we've already started collecting student aid reports for students as they completed the FAFSA. Students are starting to turn in the documents that they need so that way they can have a completed financial aid file. Awards will start in the next few weeks. So even though students may not have registered yet for fall semester, they're still going to be receiving an award letter saying this is what they're eligible for the 2014-15 academic year. They'll receive that letter to their My Lone Star email account. There's not any mailings or anything like that out to students. They'll just need to be reminded to go to their My Lone Star account. Students, this is a little bit different because students are going to initially be awarded their maximum in grants for the year, and the year is considered fall and spring. And we don't take into account summer, but whatever they're not using during the fall and spring will roll over to summer. But the maximum in grants. However, the difference is going to be is we're not going to award full loans as we've done in the past for students. Students still have to accept their loans as they're offered, but we're only going to offer subsidized loans, which are the ones that typically have lower interest rates, and the interest doesn't accrue until after they've completed their career program. Students will have eligibility for additional loans, but they'll need to request that, and we are working on financial literacy components to that because we are finding that our default rates with loans, and students are also maxing out on their aggregate, their whole lifespan of loans within a community college level and not holding on to those funds as they go into a university. So there are some strategic processes in place to help minimize the impact or the burden of debt for students. So as you see and they hear, financial aid's not awarding me the same, I got less, it's just because we're doing a different process in this upcoming year. But again, increases are available. Students must also be meeting SAP, and we'll talk about that. So it is possible that a student meeting SAP right now can be awarded and have a potential award out there. But if they take summer classes and they really bomb those, it is possible that we retract those funds before fall registration, or before fall semester begins. And so students who say, oh, financial aid gave me money, but they took it back, and those financial aid errors, as Krista was mentioning, well, yes, we did do that, but the student didn't uphold their obligation to meeting eligibility requirements. Book advances will occur 10 days prior to the start of class, fall classes. Students must request the book advance, and they can choose to purchase books here at our campus bookstore at Follett or to choose off campus. We do have a $1,000 limit, so as long as a student is after tuition and fees are accounted for and they still have a refund pending of $1,000 or more, they will be able to purchase books up to that $1,000. Now, if they'll get those funds. If they go to an off-campus, they'll just receive a check for that amount, and they're responsible for using those funds accordingly. So many times I hear from faculty that students, we didn't give them an opportunity for books and things like that. They have the opportunity. It's whether or not the student made the right decision and what purchases they were making with those funds. As the bookstore, or Follett specifically, students can purchase a laptop. And in some cases, it is reasonable to be able to purchase a laptop or a notebook and still be able to get most of their books. But just depending, again, on the choice that the student makes, They may choose a more expensive laptop and forego the books at that time and not have the items that they need to be successful their first week or two of classes. Students will have probably up to 10 days after the start of class as well to also obtain that book advance. Book advances, again, will not be available for late start classes because the intent is that refunds will already disperse before the late start class begins, so they'll have an opportunity to purchase books at that time. First disbursement for refunds, and just to clarify, give you a little bit of information about disbursement. Disbursement is when we authorize the financial aid. So we're able to verify that the student is meeting SAP, they're enrolled in the correct number of credit hours, and we've adjusted their financial aid according to those credit hours. So then we give the okay and we flip the switch, and then it goes over to student financials where a credit is created. And then at that point, a refund will occur. And typically, it is 3 to 5 days. If they do an electronic or ACH deposit, it'll take about that much time. If they do paper checks or they would like a paper check, it usually takes 7 to 10 days. Students, again, the first enrollment for the fall semester is considered the regular 16-week session. And so any sessions, I know there's a lot of 14-week sessions, 8-week sessions that occur after that. As long as a student is enrolled, starts on that day, then a disbursement will occur after the start of that day. Satisfactory academic progress applies to all Lone Star College aid applicants, and they must meet 3 SAP requirements, and their eligibility requirements prescribed by the federal regulation to receive financial aid. And these requirements include that they must maintain a 2.0 GPA, successfully completing 67% of cumulative attempted hours. And when I say cumulative, that is applying to everything that they've attempted from, even if they weren't receiving financial aid 5 years ago, but they took classes, all of those courses are considered as part of cumulative. And so if they have a no pass or they have an IP in a transitional class or they have an F, all of those are considered non-completion. So, and even developmental classes are considered as, they count towards the financial aid criteria. And then lastly, students have earning a degree or certificate. They must earn a degree or be following a degree or certificate through the community college in order to receive their aid. But they have to complete it with 150% of that program. So if it was a regular AA degree, that is 60 hours. They have up to 90 credit hours to finish that 60-hour program. If they don't, they will lose their financial aid eligibility. So they have lots of opportunity in between there to be able to complete. But we do see we probably have several hundred students each semester that we're going through that have already maxed out their time with financial aid. And so, again, some of the complaints that Krista may get is that financial aid canceled on me, but I'm eligible. I got a piece of paper from FAFSA that says I'm eligible for the maximum, but they've already exhausted too many years of classes to maintain their eligibility. There is additional information on our website. It's pretty comprehensive with a lot more details if you want to visit that. And again, it's in your handout as well. SAP is checked each semester, and so this does sometimes pose a problem in terms of payment deadlines and the whole financial aid process and students' aid being canceled, because in sessions like the fall, the end of the semester, or let me say for spring, payment deadline for spring mini is May 2nd, summer mini, I'm sorry, is May 2nd, but we won't run SAP until the end of the spring semester, and we won't run it until maybe May 15th. So there is an overlap there. So students are informed if they are on warning or on probation that it is possible that you'll have temporary aid till then, but it may be canceled if you do not maintain your eligibility. And so our system office does send out communications to students regularly, and all of our warning and probation students are updated accordingly. ZAP is cumulative across certificate and degree study of the Lone Star College system. So any transfer credits that the students has taken as well, that can be potentially applied to a degree or program are also considered when running satisfactory academic progress. You may hear of some of these things. I didn't put it in your handouts because I just wanted to say them out loud so you could be aware of what they were and what they meant. But there's different SAP statuses a student can be in, and these are the 6. Meets means that they've met all 3 of those components. Warning means it's their very first semester falling out of those components. And so the first time they fall below a 2.0, that semester they're going, and this is a cumulative 2.0, not just for the semester. They could have 4.0s for the last 3 terms, but then this spring they get a 0, they failed everything. Well, if you average all of those out, it's still not below a 2.0, so they may not be on financial aid warning quite yet. So, but those are the first time that the student falls below. There is also a not meet. That's when, after the warning session, is their second term falling below the requirements, then they're not meet, and that's technically a suspended status. They would have eligibility to appeal. If they had dire circumstances, extenuating circumstances, they could appeal. We review those to make a decision if their aid can continue. If it is approved, then they go into a probation status. And then at that point, they do have to meet with an academic advisor to discuss an academic plan, and then they have to commit to that plan. Once they submit that plan to the financial aid office, their status is changed to a plan status, and then we monitor that plan to make sure that the courses that they're taking from here on out match that plan, and that they're also meeting the criteria that's established. And then you also have a max status, and those are the students who just have too many credit hours, and they're put into a financial aid max hours. And they do also have an option to appeal, but again, the criteria is very stringent on what they can, and they have to be in a program, and they have to have extenuating circumstances as to why they were not able to complete their program. And so, with all that said, that is all I have for now regarding financial aid. Any questions? Yes, sir.
For SAT, does the student are they required to meet all 3? Or do they fall out of SAT status if they miss all 3, or is it just 1, 2?
Just one. If they fail to meet any one of those 3 statuses, they're not meeting SAT. So it's not all, any one of those 3 at any time they fall below a 2.0, they're out. If they could be, and a lot of students who are on max time, and then the number 3 section, but they have a 4.0 GPA and they have 100% completion, and they still have too many credit hours, and so they will lose their eligibility. Any other questions?
Well, I don't know, after SAP, I'm just about zapped. Okay. All right, well, these are some of the things I'm going to cover today as far as instruction art is concerned. And first year learning communities, we started those about 2 years ago to give you a little status as to why and how those things are handled. Course scheduling, programs of study, the new core for 2014, just to give you an update on that, and our student success course changes that are proposed. For our first year communities, this is where we are pairing a high demand class with classes that are deemed as high challenge. And in many cases, what these classes are students that we will find that most of our first year students have to take, but they also find it challenging. So what we have done with our first year communities is that we are pairing those, we are linking two courses together, but we are also pairing them with peer tutoring as well. So to give those students support to facilitate student success in those courses. What we have found with our communities is that those students they persist in those courses, and they persist in our college from fall to fall by 10% higher rate than our students in unlinked classes. So this is something we intend to continue to do. One of the things we have also found to be very successful is bridging, and that is bridging our transitional students to college level courses. As you might imagine, a student in developmental classes oftentimes are in a vicious cycle. They also come here from Cy-Fair ISD or another ISD, and they cannot imagine that they did not test in the college level. They are just thrown off that they are in developmental classes. However, if we keep their eyes on college level, if we start to bridge them to college level, so pairing a developmental English class, for example, with history, which we have done very successfully, that those students persist and those students are successful as well. And of course, as part of our learning signature, we also have thematic learning communities as well. And those have been doing well for many years that we have been here. What we have realized is that we need to change the way that we schedule. One, we need to focus on completion. Because one, the primary fact is that in many cases, because of our growth here at Cy-Fair, we have been going from semester to semester. And it's unusual for a college to grow from fall and then have a higher number of enrollments in the spring than they did in the fall. But we have traditionally had that. So it was almost like running behind a wall because we could never catch up with our enrollment as far as our course scheduling is concerned. But at this point, it's time for us to slow down and really start to build for completion. So we have begun to analyze our schedules to determine if the student can get 6 or 9 hours. Are our students only coming here for 8 hours because that's the only thing they can schedule for? We didn't know. So we began to analyze it so that we can focus on completion for those students to make sure that they can build a schedule of 12 credit hours while they're here in the time frames that we find that students want them. Now, as you probably know, and I know all my advisors can attest to it, when do students want to be in class? What's the peak times? They want to be here from 10 to 2. Okay. Well, we don't have enough classrooms to facilitate their request. So we have to make sure that students are actually able to have classes that are outside of that. So we have started to build classes that are Friday classes only. So they can come 1 day a week. We would think that that's appealing, but guess what? It's the last thing they register. But 40% of our classes, and that is thousands of students that are registering in the last 2 weeks, and I know our advisors, we see they have glazed over eyes in the last 2 weeks of classes, because think about the thousands of students that have come through our system during that time that they have had to deal with. So we started to create these Friday-only classes thinking they would be more appealing to students, but also it would alleviate some of the demands on our divisions. Because if you come in the last week of class, it's very rare that you can actually build your schedule the way you want to build it. So Friday would be, in many cases, we try to make it such that now you can get into these classes. You don't need permission to get into these classes because they are still open. Now, those things did do well in the spring, but at the same time, they were the last things to fill because students, unfortunately, they don't find them appealing, but we do find them as a necessity. Also a necessity are hybrid classes. But how many of our students think hybrid is a class? Yeah. they're looking for the car. But they also don't think that when you schedule a class that only meets on Tuesday, that they need to do anything on Thursday. So we are having to educate our students because we know that they have these busy lifestyles that they're working. Most of our students are working. But at the same time, when we are building these hybrid classes, the faculty tell me all the time that the students aren't doing the work. So we're building the convenience, but in building the convenience, the rigor is still there. And it's still work that the student has to do. So hybrid is not necessarily for all of our students. Also, second start, some people call them late start, but these are things that are also facilitating student success. Because many of our students who are independent, in many cases they may not have the money to register and pay for the class at the time the 16-week classes start, and this gives them an opportunity to have another opportunity to start the semester. We're also accelerating our courses. We accelerated most of developmental ed this semester, and we found that those students are also very successful. We didn't accelerate all of developmental ed, but we did accelerate the lower levels of developmental ed. But because of the TSI, we do find that most of those students are now being shifted into college level. And now we are preparing for those students that are testing directly into college level courses, or as Kawana can attest to, they're testing, and then they come back and they retest, and they come back and they retest. And she doesn't like that, but but they can do it. And guess what? When our students figure out they can do it, they will do it. So these are things that now become a challenge for us, but these are also opportunities for us to do things differently as well. And we also have our evening classes. The evening classes, in most cases, we find that these are for our non-traditional students. Believe it or not, the students who are here in the evenings aren't necessarily the ones that are 18 to 24. So if you like a more mature student, this is where you should be teaching. I try to sell that to the faculty all the time. But for the most part, you will find that these are the students that are very committed. This is the time that they have, and they are ready to do the work. So we are trying to build schedules for them as well, such that they can take more than 3 credit hours at night, that they can take classes Monday through Thursday if they would like as well. Now, dual credit has grown about 100% in the last year and a half. This year we had 3,500 students in dual credit, and by fall we anticipate about 3,800 students in dual credit. As you might know, that this is a small campus that we offer at 11 locations of Cy-Fair ISD. It is a growing challenge for us, but we also see it as a growing opportunity because many of these students are our potential students. They are our students, but they may be the students that come here to transition on to the university. This year, in fall 2014, we are moving to academic majors. Everybody say yay! Yay! Because it is, Lone Star is committed to creating clear pathways for students. The default major at Lone Star is what? The advisors know. Associate of Arts, the AA degree. And that is 68% of our students, when we went to look through it, said the AA degree. But what does that tell an advisor? Not a whole lot about really what the student wants to do. So we are developing the top 10 majors that our students transfer into when they move from here to a university. And this fall we have readied engineering. So we're starting with mechanical engineering. We will be moving to the other 4 areas of engineering as well. We are moving to psychology in the fall. So we will be adjusting our course schedule for the and biology. And Maria can say yay. We will have biology because this is biology and psychology were the top 2 majors that our students transferred into. So why not offer them that opportunity at Lone Star for them to move into that? So we'll be sending more information to you regarding those 2 majors. We'll also probably be having some info sessions of students who are interested in those majors over the summer as well. We will be developing others. Believe it or not, students want to do history. So we're going to do history majors. I had to see whether my history faculty were here. Oh, I missed them. But anyway. But it is in our top 10 majors. So we're going to be moving down the majors based on the demand from the students, and that's how we will be developing them. We are also, with those programs of study, it was brought to our attention that we needed to change the way programs are outlined in the catalog. So you're going to see a major change in the fall, where summers, it will be fall, spring, summer is going to be how we will outline those. And the deans and curriculum teams are working on that now. So whereas you see now, I think it's designed in first year, second year, which is unrealistic for students. What we try to give students is points of recognition and points of success. So if they continue, the research is very clear. So if a student continues throughout fall, spring, and summer, that student is more likely to complete. But however, when we put it in first year, second year, you don't have a point of success in there. Because that first year might be 36 credit hours. And if you're taking 8 hours per semester, how long is it going to take you to get there? So we are making some changes where that is concerned. So when you see the new catalog, you'll be seeing some changes where that is concerned as well. The student success course, the new proposal is that it is going to shift from human development 0300 to education 1300. And that should happen by fall. It will be graded. It will be 3 credits. And we're probably going to move it to Division 5, which is Transitional Studies and Student Success. And I will be sending you more information about that such that you will know who to contact as we make these transitions. So currently it is in Division 1, Business and Communications and World Languages. And education, meaning the AAT as well as Education 1300, all of that is going to move to Division 5, which is Transitional Studies and Student Success under Dr. O'Brien, Dr. Glenn. Questions about that? You look a little confused. Okay. So that's going to happen by June 1. We will be shifting those just to make it seamless for students and for you to know if it's an education course, who do I call? And you'll know that all education is under a particular division. Okay? Yes?
Will the PUC 1300 still be a systems-driven course?
Yes, it is. Like it or not. The best thing about having this first year experience course, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Okay, the best thing about having the student success course is that we know it works. Our students need this as they transition. As you know, community college students come from all walks of life with divergent experiences, divergent academic experiences, and this course works. We're responding to the advisory committee that suggested that it be graded and that it is 3 credits. So we are moving to that to give students also this form of reference that I'm in a course and it means something, because grades mean something to students. So we have to recognize that, and giving them this grade or a point in which they can succeed is going to be very helpful. So we're looking for masters in education. Just so I thought, throw that in. For those who want to teach it. Okay, the Common Core. We are working on the core right now. It has not been approved by the coordinating board yet. We do anticipate hearing within the next week of the new core that is proposed for Lone Star College system. Currently, the major change that we're going to have to make is going to be with kinesiology. As you probably know, kinesiology is considered an activity course, and activity courses are a challenge for the core. They're not approving any activity courses in the core. So we are moving kinesiology that was in there and that was kinesiology 1111 to a new rubric of PHED. So that is going 1164, and I have it in red there, but I'll be sending that out to you as well. Pending their approval, there still may be other changes in the core as we are having these discussions. So as we're having the new core experience, it's also important for advisors to know what's happening with the core and what you will advise students to do. And I did send this out, but understand that things that are not in the core, we shouldn't be advising students to take if they want to transfer. Most of our new degrees will include the core, but it will include 18 hours in addition to that. Okay. Any questions about any of that? And that's all I have for today. Any questions? All right.
All right, you all have been very patient and attentive. We're getting near to the end, but since you've been sitting there for a minute, why don't everybody stand up and stretch your arms? You're going to get a 60-second stand up and stretch. 60 seconds. I should have had the happy music ready. Seconds. Seconds. All right, let's go ahead. We only probably have about 10 more minutes. All right. All right, just a couple of quick updates from the Division of Student Success. It won't take a lot of your time, but I'm sure all of you are aware we made some changes to the organizational structure in the fall. It was sent out through email. You also have a copy of this, and this is just for your information because there were some offices in some areas that were moved around in the organizational structure. The most important thing in regards to the Division of Student Success, besides all the other things, updates you heard, was also in your handout is this contact list. Hopefully you will find it very, very helpful. You will see that every area in student success, it's broken down by every department in student success. You'll see what the area is, the direct contact of who to call, and who the backup person is. Now, it's very, very important that you realize that all of the numbers in there are direct numbers. So this is not a document that should be shared with students, but it is obviously should be shared across campus to faculty and staff, and I will be emailing this as well. One of the things that we find, particularly in peak registration periods, is that you as faculty and staff may be working with the student, you're trying to reach the financial aid department, you're calling the general number, and you get in the loop with all of the thousands of students who are calling the general number. So you have this information for you to use. We hope that you find it very, very helpful. We will be updating it every semester, and we'll be sending it out every semester as well. Of other things is a lot of times when we're interacting with students, particularly during peak registration periods, and also throughout the year, we do interact with students who may be having some financial difficulties. We always encourage them to, of course, apply for financial aid, but at the college, and it's run through my office, we do have emergency financial assistance for students. And if you encounter a student who may have that issue or concern, you can have the student contact my office, or you can have the student contact Ashley Resendez, the Director of Financial Aid directly. And when I say we have emergency financial assistance, some of that is in regards to bookstore cards, where we can give students who may be receiving financial aid, may not be receiving financial aid, but who are having problems paying for their books. It could be assistance with a student who may be experiencing financial difficulty, who needs food or other things such as that. We have various pots of money that we can dip into. We will be advertising that more widely, but it is something for you to think about when you're working with students, not just in peak registration, but throughout the entire year. Another thing is the Office of Student Life is working to establish a student food pantry. Because again, we are starting to experience more and more students who are having not just academic needs, but needs for just basic support. So we'll be doing that as well. We got some a lot of donations from Sci-Hope. I don't know if many of you are familiar with Sci-Hope, who provides the backpack program to Sci-Fair School District. We got a very sizable donation of food, so the food pantry is pretty stocked right now. Once it is up and running, you'll get information about that as well. Also, I'll be sending out an email within the next week or two to let you know of the hours that the student services areas will be open for summer. We, as a system, have Fridays off. But it is kind of a misnomer because not every area is closed on Friday and Saturday. So we still have to be open for limited hours of operation, particularly in the student services areas and other areas throughout the college as well. And we will be sending out those summer hours within the next week or two. Any questions? I told you that's going to be very quick. And then I'll turn it over to, I believe it's Erin, to give a quick center update. As she's coming up, our Vice President of Centers, Dr. Dina Shepard, is out of town, and so she couldn't be with us today, so Erin will be representing her, but there's a question.
Will we as staff be able to donate to the food pantry?
Yes, that's a very good question. The question was, will staff members, faculty as well, be able to donate to the food pantry? Yes, we'll be sending out information and ask people for donations. Again, at this particular point in time, we're pretty well stocked. But we will be sending out some requests from that when it is needed as well. Good question. Yeah. Go ahead. We're still working on all of the specifics, so it's still in the development stage now, but hopefully within the next month or so, we'll be sending out very, very specific information for that. Because we're trying to do it in a way that students feel comfortable with coming and getting food, and also doing it in a way that's very discreet. So those are things that we know the need is there, but we're trying to take the time needed to make sure that the process is done in a respectful and discreet way. Dr. Levy?
Just a little point for all of you. Sci-Fair ISD, they have about 58% of their students are on reduced lunch. And we get 75% of our students come from Sci-Fair ISD that have graduated. Typically, by the time a student becomes senior, they don't want to identify themselves as needing resources or reduced lunch. So a lot of the students that we're getting, many of them don't have resources for food. If you're ever in the cafeteria line, in the food service line, you will see students charging a hamburger on their credit card. That kind of tells you the level of resources some of our students don't have. Many of our students find themselves homeless. They end up living in their car or living other places. So this is an effort to kind of look at our whole student, not just the academic part, because there are lots of needs that our students have that in many cases we're not thinking of them quite that way.
The reason I ask is because in advising and counseling, oftentimes because we're in our office, we have to disclose to us that they're homeless, so they have different situations. So maybe if we could have a voucher that we can hand that student very discreetly, we wouldn't have to send an application.
Perfect idea.
Absolutely.
We deal with those students on a daily basis, we know those things that we can't just walk out and share or walk them over and say, hey, So a
Absolutely.
discreet way to allow us to be able to do that to the student would be great.
Very, very good idea.
And we're hopeful that we can start putting something more on our web pages and letting people know the resources in the community and where they can go. Because sometimes they just don't know where to go.
Oftentimes they, and that's very true, but you're right, oftentimes they don't want to ask. But when they're sitting with us in our office and we finally get them comfortable, and they tell me why they're having trouble in their class academically, I find out there's more under this. And so that's why we did give them that resource and assure them of the privacy that they would have. I feel like they may be more open to actually going and accepting it, not have to say, tell their story after the entry.
Right.
Absolutely.
Say, I have this, and just hand me the bag.
This is a pilot project, and we're trying to figure out the best way. At some point, we thought
You
about
got
this.
my wheels turning, don't you?
Yes, and that's good. And what I hope is that your wheels are turning, that you've gotten a lot of information today. You're still going to get some more, that your wheels are turning on ways to disseminate this information. I should have said this at the beginning, this is more of a train the trainer. So once we're done here, it is your responsibility to then disseminate this information to your colleagues. Of course, we'll send it out. But also, hopefully your wheels are spinning on ways that we can continue to support our students in the basic necessity kind of things, support our students in not only the registration, or promoting them to register, how we can do better with getting our students in our learning communities and those kinds of things as well. The Enrollment Management Committee is always open, as in Division of Instruction and Student Success, always open for ideas on how we can continue to do these things a little bit better. So it's good that your wheels are spinning. Good. Erin. Oh, if you didn't also know, Erin had a beautiful baby boy, and she's back, and so let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you, Dr. Harrell. Now I'm embarrassed. Dr. Harrell did guarantee me a good 45-minute discussion about center. So that's why we all stretched earlier. Thank you. Thank you. First, I'd like to change the slide. And then second, I'd like to ask the members of the Cypress Center team to stand up and so people can see who is over the Cypress Center and working to bring that center up. Thank you. And then I know there's just a couple people here from the Fairbanks Center. If you guys could stand up as well. Just to put some faces to some names that you see emails and also in that contact directory that Dr. Harrell was talking about as well. I really am going to be brief. I won't be 45 minutes, maybe 4 to 7. On the screen, this is some information about the zip code and the location of the 3 locations, the Fairbanks Center, Cypress Center, and the Cy-Fair main campus here at Barker Cypress. And what Dina had asked me, the circles didn't come out when we put it in the slideshow. There we go. So, but at the bottom of it shows the top 5 zip codes of non-returning students for Fairbanks Center. And this goes a little bit what Dr. Levy was talking about with her introduction. The top zip codes, the 77084, I know it's kind of hard, is where the 2 circles are combined. That is between centers. If you look at the location of that zip code, it's between the centers. So Cypress Center is open, so we're seeing a shift away from the Fairbanks Center. to the Cypress Center. The 77095, that's also this, kind of in the middle of the triangle of the three locations. So we're seeing a shift away from the Fairbanks Center. The 77449 is right on top of the Cypress Center. 77433, that's near this location. And then, unfortunately, the 77429 is much closer to UP. So we're seeing a shift. However, with that in mind, the core zip codes that are still near the Fairbanks Center are still coming to the Fairbanks Center. In the last 4 months, how many of you have driven past the Fairbanks Center, or what is left of the location? Okay, did you see our now open, still open sign? Okay, so that worked a little bit. As you've noticed, 290 has done a little construction in front of the Fairbanks Center. In the summer 13, we also got the outside of the building painted. So not only did you see all the construction items, you also saw scaffolding on the building. So really, was Fairbanks open? We were open. So that was just a way to get the community to realize that we really were open, even though we did look like a construction zone. So with that in mind, what Dr. Harrell shared with our enrollment numbers, Fairbanks Center has seen a decrease. And it started practically right in January 2013. And the restaurants around Fairbanks Center closed about November, December 2012, and it's, yes, nowhere to eat lunch. Fajita Willie's is across the street, but good luck trying to get back into Fairbanks. You can get out. Good luck getting back in. But with that being said, so that's when we first started seeing the effects of 290, was right there at the end of the year 2012, and we've continued to see those effects. Now, the new thing at the Fairbanks Center is our front parking lot has been shortened a bit. Now the back parking lot is completely fenced off. The building of the parking garage is going to be starting very soon. So gratefully, the hotel has allowed us to park and have students park in their parking lot. It is a blessing to have the hotel there now, and we're very grateful for them to allow us to park there, because we don't have any spots. Once the parking garage is finished, it should be completed prior to fall 14. We should net another 65 spaces in the back, a net of 65 spaces of what has been taken away. So that is positive. We will eventually calm down. We'll have a tree here and there in the front. And the equipment will be moved out of the general vicinity. So with that, but we are working together with all three locations on some strategies for outreach. We do replicate some of the programs that are at the main campus here, but in a smaller scale, like the registration rally with the enrollment the enrollment group, the Cypress Center block party that's coming up, new student orientation. We're going to be working more closely with Allison, Humvee registration with Melissa and her group, FAFSA promotion with Ashley, the Academic Success Center promotions. We worked on those in the fall for 13 semester with Jerry's group. Jerry is, I forgot to mention, Jerry is now the interim program manager for student services at Cypress Center. So she's leading that group of student service professionals there. And at the Cypress Center, we have been approved and have started the search for a new associate dean. We're going to replicate Glenda, we hope, and we'll have Glenda back at the Fairbanks Center. So, I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. I think we're good. Any questions about the fabulous Fairbanks Center or the exciting Cypress Center? All right, and thank you for embarrassing me right off the bat. On a personal note, thank you, Dr. Silva, for helping while I was out. I appreciate it.
So a couple of things before we end. First is, are there any questions about things related to registration, either summer or fall, that you would like answered that none of the presenters presented on, or anything that you would like to have some clarification on from any of the presenters? Going twice. All right, we are going to give some giveaways, but I do want to thank all of the presenters in all of the areas. Let's give them a round of applause. They did an excellent job. We do hope that you have found the information helpful, and that it will, it's just another way for us to improve our effectiveness and our efficiency in regards to assisting our students with registering for our semesters. I will be sending out an email with all of the attachments, the PowerPoint. Hopefully all of these recording things have worked, so we'll upload it to our SharePoint site and send that out as well. And we will also be sending out a survey to you so that you can give us feedback on this session, because again, this is the first session. We do want to hear feedback from you to see if this is useful, if this is something we want to continue to do. So with that being said, we need to give away some t-shirts. So how should we give them away?